Good evening and welcome to the January 27th, 2022 Curriculum Committee meeting of the School District of Haverford Township. Let's rise for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so our first agenda item, we'll turn it over to Jen Saxa.
Thank you, Ms. Wiedemann. Good evening. Tonight, I am pleased to be joined by several colleagues to discuss 3 items this evening. We're going to begin with our financial literacy update. Here with us this evening is Sandy Connolly, who is our humanities coordinator and also the co-chair of our goal to prepare contemporary citizens. Joining her is Mr. Pete Donaghy, who is our high school principal. One of our business teachers, actually the department chair, Jessica Minnie, is unable to attend this evening, but she has created a video with her colleagues in the business department that we will be sharing in a few minutes. Along with her, we have with us tonight Pat Bader and Adam Nancaro, business department members. And we want to make sure that we also recognize Ms. Jackie McCarty, who is our fellow business department colleague, who is integral not only in creating this presentation, but also in all of the business department items that we handle throughout the year. So we want to thank those folks for joining us for this financial literacy update portion of the meeting. We're going to go ahead to the next slide, hopefully. In theory, yes, great. As always, we like to begin by reminding ourselves of the district mission and pillars. So I'll just read aloud. The mission of the School District of Haverford Township is to educate and inspire a community of lifelong learners who become well-rounded global citizens. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to Sandy Connolly, who will speak more specifically about our goal to prepare contemporary citizens.
Thank you, Jen. We're continuing to implement our strategic plan, and tonight we're going to focus on the Preparing Contemporary Citizens component. As a reminder, the goal for Preparing Contemporary Citizens is to modernize and expand learning experiences to prepare students as critical thinkers, problem solvers, innovative designers within a complex global society. In an effort to understand the need for financial literacy, we have a scenario for you. And financial literacy is part of that goal, and we're going to be talking to you about why in just a second. But we want to give you a little background and a little bit of a story. And I'll tell you what, a little part of this story is actually personal and happened in our family. So Molly was a B+ honors student in high school who never took a business class. Molly got her first credit card in college. She signed up for it outside the cafeteria in exchange for a free t-shirt. Her bank also gave her a debit card for her checking account. She began to purchase everyday items with her credit card: books, a sweater, groceries. She also used the debit card to buy $4 cups of coffee, eventually overdrafting that account. The bank charged an overdraft fee of $25, making a cup of coffee $29. Molly made minimum payments on her credit card and applied for a new store credit card to get the 10% discount offered at the register. 4 years later, she accumulated $20,000 in credit card debt on top of her college loans and was unable to make the minimum payments. Molly used a debt consolidation service to pay off her credit cards over 5 years and eventually became debt-free. So there's a happy ending to that story. But we don't want our Haverford students to be in this position or have to go through this experience because they were not financially literate. Through our strategic planning committee work, we collected community input from stakeholders, parents, guardians, teachers and students, administrators and community members. During this process, the strategic planning committee members reviewed over 4,000 surveys responses and determined that financial literacy for all Haverford students was something that we all agreed on. We all want that for our students. Right now, students have financial literacy experiences throughout their school career in Haverford. Our youngest students learn about needs and wants. Second grade students have a beginning economics unit culminating in a market day. And you can see here a couple of pictures of market day at one of our schools where students are sitting with the products that they designed, and they have to work on supply and demand so that they can adjust the price of their products. So they're starting to understand a little bit about that even in second grade. In third grade, students learn about goods and services that Philadelphia is known for. We have economics units in every grade level, but in middle school, students in 7th and 8th grade get financial literacy taught through an EverFi program and some teacher-created lessons and assignments. 6th grade culminates with planning a dream vacation with a $10,000 budget. That sounds sort of like fun and exciting. And students experience a stock market challenge in 7th grade, really bringing what's happening out in the world into the classroom. Now, let's watch a video that the business department at the high school, and some of our colleagues are here today that helped with this, to help to explain to us what they teach in personal finance class right now. David?
Hello and good evening. My name is Jessica Minnie. I am the chair of the business department at the high school. I apologize I can't be there this evening, but I'm excited to share with you a little about our personal finance course. So I thought I'd start by just sharing a little about where our course is currently. It is a 9-week elective open to all grades at the high school. We do already see approximately 300 students come through the course each year. And the course is designed to be very project-based for real-world application, doing our best to prepare students to be able to apply what they've learned into future situations in their life. So I like to tell the students on day one that this course is designed to take them through their financial life cycle. We start sort of where they're at with their life right now, kind of trying to think about their goals and their hopes for the future and how to plan to make those goals as successful as possible. So we start out with some basic goal setting. Most of the goals that the students set are related to the topics that we discuss throughout the course. So it's a nice way to get them started and thinking about what their goals are for the future. We start out with some basic career research, career readiness skills. A lot of the students are already part-time employees or plan to be soon. And so we want to make sure that they know how to enter the workforce in a successful way. Then we move on to, once they receive their first paycheck, understanding the taxes and deductions that are coming out and why there's a difference between what they earn and what they take home. Once they have money in their possession, it's time to think about what to do to keep that money safe for the future. So we discuss basic checking accounts, how to open and manage a checking account. They learn how to write a check, balance a checking account, deposits and withdrawals, and then how to shop for the best financial institution for them. We also discuss different types of saving and investing options once they have excess money in their possession that they'd like to kind of play around with. Afterwards, we move on to credit, understanding what credit is, what a credit score and a credit report includes, and how to manage the number one type of debt that Americans are in, which of course is credit cards. We also discuss some long-term types of debt, financing a car, the expenses that come along with car ownership, mortgaging a home, the process behind how to get started with that, what to look for, and how to manage that type of large expense. We discuss different types of insurances that they're going to need throughout their life. We spend the most time on car insurance because that's the most prevalent for them at the moment as they're getting ready to drive and eventually get their own vehicles. Then we finish up with retirement, learning how to the importance of future planning and why it's important to think about those things in the near future rather than waiting until it's time for that retirement to happen. At the end of the course, we bring all of the topics together in a final budget project. So the students are able to kind of look back on everything that they've done in the course so far and put it all together into a simulation activity where they're thinking about, okay, post-high school, I've graduated, I've gotten a full-time job, I'm going to move out on my own. What are the bills going to look like, and how am I going to manage that on a month-to-month basis? So obviously our goal, our hopes for the future, which is why you're discussing this at the meeting today, is to make sure that all Haverford students receive financial literacy education by the time that they graduate. We want to make sure that they have all the tools that they need to be successful and understand the importance of financial literacy for their future. Before we let you go, I just wanted to show a few clips of some current and past students who have gone through the personal finance course and value what they've learned.
Hello, my name is Kaylee Schaefer, and I am a senior at Haverford High School. I confidently would like to say that with personal finance, I feel prepared for adult life. If it weren't for this class, I would have failed to realize, just like many other people in their adult lives, the importance of learning how to manage money and of looking ahead in life. With personal finance, I learned important skills I would not have gotten anywhere else. I learned how to budget my money, pay for college, and even how to use something as scary as the stock market to my advantage in saving for retirement and other future expenses. The information in this class is extremely valuable, and I am relieved and glad that I had the ability to take it. Thank you.
So thankful that Haverford offers personal finance as a course because it's truly one of the most important things we need to learn to be successful in the future.
That every student should be able to take personal finance as a required course because school doesn't really teach you how to be an adult or manage your money, and a lot of people just go out, graduate 18, go to college, and they're like, they don't know anything. But if you just take personal, if you just learn the basics, it's a lot easier to know how to manage your money, and then people might be more interested, they might find out how to manage your money better, and they might be able to have a more successful future.
Thank you. So you can hear from these students, they agree, as some of our stakeholders, that our goal is to get a required financial literacy course for all students. And we're going to turn it over to Jen so she can describe the pathways we're discussing.
Yeah, so as part of our process for exploring the possibilities of bringing a greater number of students exposure to financial literacy, we considered many different avenues. We really are looking to embody what our strategic planners envisioned when we considered these options. So tonight we're going to share with you the two that do that best and that are also the most viable. We'll also share what is our recommendation and our proposal that we are hoping the board will consider. Those paths are required personal finance, the quarter course as it currently exists as a graduation requirement for all students. That's the first path. And then the alternate path that is something that can be considered is that we would continue to offer personal finance for those who would like to take it, and that we encourage students to participate in an EverFi financial literacy course, which really contains about 7 modules for about 4 hours worth of financial literacy learning, and that they could do that throughout all 4 years, or at least by the time they leave in their senior year. So that would be our alternate option. But we are going to run you through those two options. Mr. Dunnigy is going to take us through the logistics as well as some sort of advantages and what it could look like for both of those options, and then I'll come back to you. Thanks, Mr. Dunnigy.
Thank you. And again, looking at these pathways, we met on numerous occasions. The teachers, we met at times with the social studies teachers. We looped in the English teachers at times just to go over what we think would be best for the Haverford student and what are the needs of someone who lives in Haverford Township. And with the experience of our business teachers, we came up with these 2 pathways. And I just want to plug the business teachers real quick. The two gentlemen with me today these are second career people who had their own business and come from a business background. So they're very in tune to the current trends of the market. They're very aware of money. They like to make money. Also are Miss Minnie and Miss McCarty. Miss McCarty's husband works at Vanguard. He's been there a long time. He helps support our students in many different varieties. And then Miss Minnie's husband owns his own business too. So we're very fortunate to have 4 people who are very in tune to what's going on in society. So our first, our pathway is that we would have every student take a financial literacy course, the course described by Miss Minnie. Right now we mandate another quarter course, which is called health. So this, we touch upon, very small touch upon finances and health. But this would be an extension, this is the way I look at it, an extension of the health class. It's a quarter class, so we could fit it in before their 4 years in their schedule. We also, for any student that it might be difficult to fit in, we have independent studies, we do have online programming, we have different creative ways that we can figure out how they get this class before they graduate. But the biggest thing is they would be in front of our highly qualified teachers taking the course. The other thing with the course is that our teachers are very good. It's an unleveled class. All right, so health is unleveled. So our teachers are very good in the health class at making sure they differentiate for all levels of students in that class. We have our life skills students in the health class. We have our AP students in the health class. So this would be the same type of thing, but we would add a component where you could have an honors option if you completed an additional project or additional type of assessment. And a lot of our kids do take business classes. 50% of our graduates go into some type of business major in college, which makes sense. So if someone wants to go further than what you saw that Miss Minnie described, we can definitely provide a project for an honors option, because sometimes the students are nervous that it's going to maybe put them back a little bit in the college process of going into high-level college. It really doesn't, but they're still worried about that. So we want to make sure we provide that opportunity for them. We also have everything on Canvas right now. We do have an HOL option, but again, if we can get them in front of our teachers, I believe that's our best option. We wouldn't really need to change a whole lot in our policies or our practices. We would need some approval, obviously, that's why we're presenting it tonight. But we wouldn't have to change a whole lot. We do need one staff member, yes. In order for it to, we have 500 students per grade, okay? So roughly it would be 500 students per year taking the class. We have 300 students per year already take it, but that's all different grades, so you have to do the math. So it comes out to one additional teacher. And then our worry and our promise is that when they take the financial literacy class, then they might take another business class. So we're going to need another teacher once we start offering these courses. Some of the challenges is more just the logistic things that we have to do as an administrative team and as the teachers, but it's nothing that we don't experience every day with all our other courses. You know, it's just making sure they fit in, making sure that the students are comfortable taking it. There is a logical path in the health course that you could take it opposite health. It's very logical that way. But there's just some logistics we just have to work out if we take it. Path 2 is EverFi module. There's a lot of different places that offer financial literacy now. A lot of the banks, a lot of the financial institutions. There's a lot of government money that goes into starting these programs and trying to steer the kids towards one bank or one financial institution. So there's a lot of different programs out there that we did look at, and everything that Miss Minnie presented is in those financial programs. It's about, sometimes it's 5 modules, sometimes it's 9 modules, sometimes it's 12 modules. So we always look at what everybody else is offering and make sure we're not missing anything. So we're very confident that in our programming that we're covering everything. We're not doing a lot of cryptocurrency, to be honest with you. I know that's big right now, but everything else we're covering. They do touch on crypto, but we're not steering the kids one way or another with their money. We're just trying to get them on the right path going forward. The other concern is, and they do touch on it, is the the college loan and debt crisis, basically. So we do touch on that to make them aware of different college options. And a lot of our students, I don't know the exact number, but I would say a good portion of our students at some point go on to grad school. So we're very mindful of trying to help them look into the future. They're 18, 19, it's hard for them to look into the future, but look in past their 4 years of college or 2 years of college, or even getting employment right away. The other thing I just wanted to
Talk about that path 2. How is that different than path 1?
Path 2 is, it would just be an online course, okay? So we would say there's 8 to 9 modules, finish it on your own. We have to make sure you finished it. At the end of each module, on all these programs, there's some type of assessment, there's some type of pre-test. It's an online course, and then there's some type of post-test. We just don't believe that it's going to be enough practicality for our students. I mean, there's good stuff in there. It's very practical. You will absolutely learn financial literacy, but we don't believe that you would learn it at the rate and the rigor that we do our other courses, quite frankly.
It'd be shorter, right?
It'd be shorter. There would be really no support. There's nobody to bounce ideas off of. No one who's been in the field, who've made money, who've lost money, who've had to recover from that. You don't have that. You don't have that one-to-one attention or that small group attention that we're very fortunate to be able to provide. But it is an option. It's always an option, our online courses. These financial literacy courses are a little bit different too than online courses we offer in English, Social Studies, Math, and Science. English, Social Studies, Math, and Science courses have been around a lot longer than some of these financial literacy programs. They look nice. You press the button, the coins come down. It sounds like money. They have all the bells and whistles, but they haven't been around as long as some of our courses that we do through our curriculum. So we're not 100% sold on it. Yeah. The only difference between this and our other program too is you wouldn't need a teacher.
And it wouldn't be a graduation requirement, which is, we wouldn't be able to ensure that every student in our district takes it before they graduate, right?
Correct.
One clarifying question.
Yes.
It would be purely asynchronous then. There wouldn't be any engagement.
Purely asynchronous. All we would do is make sure you completed it. So the modules get completed, then we would get an alert that you've completed the course.
And if you don't mind, one of the things that when we were discussing our different options and how we could fit this in was that the teachers did not feel that if the students were to take a course like this, for instance, in homeroom or at some other, an assembly or something, the teachers felt that they would not be as engaged. They would click through it, they would get it done, they get to the quiz, if it's a pass-fail, it wouldn't even matter, or they're making the bottom line sort of entry into that and engagement in it. And we just felt as a group, although it is an option, that we prefer the other option where we have our teachers teaching our course that they've developed that they described to you tonight. Right?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Dunnigy and Ms. Connolly. After careful consideration, as Mrs. Connolly just suggested, we considered the benefits, the logistics, and the priorities of each of these options, and our team recommends that we follow path 1, the required quarter course for all students to take as a graduation requirement, personal finance as it stands now. We heard loud and clear from the thousands of survey responses, the many focus groups, the interviews, the financial literacy is a priority in our community. By adding a quarter course as a graduation requirement, we believe that we can achieve what our community has prioritized, as well as support this overall goal of preparing contemporary citizens. So this requirement will ensure that all students get the same in-depth learning on this topic, and that they'll learn our curriculum from our teachers, which is always, we consider, a great advantage for the students who attend our schools. And while staffing will need to be increased by 1, that is something that we would take into account in our budgeting process. So again, we believe that requiring this course will benefit the students not only now, but also in the future. So we'll just take a moment to talk about next steps before questions. At our next Thursday's board meeting on the 4th, we would just ask, of course, our curriculum committee liaison will share a report regarding this presentation with the full board at that meeting. I have the date wrong. On mine, it says the right date, but on this one, it says the wrong. Oh, this one says right. On the board members copy, it says the wrong date. The next meeting, the 17th, we would ask the board if they would please vote to add personal finance as a quarter course as a graduation requirement. And then if the board so chose to approve that, then we would begin altering our course selection guide and publicizing that as a graduation requirement, beginning with the class of 2026. Those are our current 8th graders, so this would get them the information in time for them to plan. Some of them plot out right away from 8th grade. They know what they're gonna do right through senior year, right? So this will give them that information, and they can begin their planning. We believe that most will take it in 10th or 11th grade, that it's probably not something 9th graders will opt to take, but it certainly would be an option for them at that time. So that is our plan for the next steps. And at this point, we'd be happy to answer any questions that we can.
You said, sorry, recommended for 11th and 12th grade? Anyone could take it at any grade, but it's recommended 11th and 12th?
10th and 11th is what we were
11th,
imagining
okay.
most students would choose.
Okay, good.
Typically, they take health in 10th grade as well, so it
Okay.
might be
Yeah,
helpful to have it opposite of health, but you know,
Great.
each schedule is different, and there are 1,900 of them, so.
Yeah, and right about 10th, 11th grade, they started getting jobs. So it's very, very relevant for them.
Any questions down there?
So what would happen next year, given that the goal for them to be required would start for the students entering in next year, but they really wouldn't probably take it for another year or so? Is there like a transition year that there would be with this?
It wouldn't be too much of a transition for us. I mean, we've really been thinking about it and planning for it. We would just need to see where it fits the best. We do have 9th graders who do take personal finance, and then take a lot of other business classes. We would just need to just be prepared for more 10th grade than 9th grade.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, is that more students are going to hear that this is something that other students are going to be taking. So, you know, we might have an influx of more students next year as well.
Sure.
So
Yeah,
the full-time staff person, though, that needs to be hired would be hired for next year?
Next year, yes.
Could you just clarify what it means that it would be a requirement for us? I understand that some of the graduation requirements come from like Pennsylvania, say,
Sure.
and how that is implemented if we pick this class to be a requirement.
Sure. So we require 26.5 credits. Okay, so one of your credits would have to be this class. Another class is health, and then we have 2 phys eds, and then we have 4 years of English, social studies, math, and science. So it would be as one of your electives. The students can take up to 32 credits. So there's a lot of flexibility. We purposefully put a lot of flexibility in our schedule. So as students go up through, including senior year, they get to choose more as they get to senior year. So they get to choose their electives. So it's not, there's room in the schedule for it too. So it would just be one of our requirements, the school district of Haverford Township requirements versus the state requirement. So I'll give you an example. Some schools only say you have to take 3 years of science. Here we believe 4 years of science is your best avenue. So whenever that was adopted, which was great, years ago, they said, no, at Haverford, we're going to do 4 years of science because we feel that's going to put our kids in the best possible situation. And from there, we come up with electives. So in science, we have a myriad of electives for their fourth science. We encourage certain things, but then others, they have electives.
Thank you.
The state, though, there's a lot of discussion about financial literacy in the state. So we feel that sooner or later they're going to require it anyway. From what we're reading and what we're looking at, that's not the reason we're going to this. We've been talking about this for a couple of years now, but it seems like it's steering that way.
Good, thanks. And I have a student who's now a 10th grader, took it as an elective in 9th grade.
Sure.
And really enjoyed it. It was one of those classes that, she would talk to us about what they were learning and how it applied and asking questions like, how did we do this or that? So I think a really important addition and something to expose everyone to. I did want to point out that I appreciate the attachment to our strategic plan and linking it to contemporary citizens. I would also argue that this goes with social and emotional
Absolutely.
wellness. There is such a link between someone's financial well-being and their level of stress and how that manifests in your physical health. So I think this is one of those life skills that has benefits in the social and emotional and wellness realm as well.
Correct.
Thank you for that.
I'll just mention that Mr. Nancaro is currently teaching personal finance, and he's in the audience right now. So if anyone has any specific questions, no obligation, but we do have people here who might answer them if there is one.
I guess my question was just going to be like, are you using like apps and software or anything like that, or is it more like project and textbook and things like that?
Yeah, it's kind of a combination of everything. We use.
You want to go to the microphone?
Not loud enough. So it is a combination of multiple things. We do use like Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets, kind of as a financial software with it, but a lot of it is all project-based stuff. So, for example, we just got done with a couple of weeks ago doing our buying a car unit, where they go out onto the web and they're searching on how to buy a car. They're looking up 3 different cars, what the cost is, what does the loan look like, how do we figure out the monthly maintenance cost, how do we figure out the monthly insurance cost, fuel economy, all that kind of stuff with the cars, and then kind of baking that all in. And then now they're kind of finishing up with their final project of putting this all together into an Excel spreadsheet to build a personal budget. And they're seeing, okay, well, I took this job out of college as a chef or a teacher or an engineer, and this is my expected salary, and I got to pay rent, I got to pay all these things. And they're putting it all together now in one big thing. So we're using the software, we're using the internet, but we're doing it more in a project-based way.
Thank you. Authentic application.
Yes.
Right, authentic application as well. That's great. Thank you.
I just had a quick question. I think this sounds incredible. I wish I would have taken a course like that. Molly might have been my college roommate. I think you might have stole that from her, because I can see with the credit cards and the t-shirts, and she was in debt. So I think that's awesome. I just have a quick question. You mentioned, and I love the idea of the first pathway that you are recommending, but you said one of the challenges was for AP students. What would be the challenge of them not being able to fit it in specifically?
Well, just the challenges of scheduling in general, we try to accommodate every student's desires and their wishes. So we're very flexible at the high school. So there are times where we need to have a student do an online class. depending, they might even have outside activities that we work with. We work with employment. You know, there's a lot of different things we do. We do independent studies for students. So we have students who want to take every AP history class because they just love history, you know, but it doesn't fit into their schedule, you know, so we have to figure out, all right, is it an independent study with a teacher, or is it an online course? Our online courses that we offer are supported by the teachers, so they have someone they can bounce ideas off of. This financial literacy course, the second pathway, we wouldn't be able to do that, you know, like we do with our other courses. So there are courses. I just wanted to present that to you to know that we are flexible, because sometimes that's always the worry when you increase a mandate that we're not going to be able to fit it in our schedule.
So those students, in that case, if they're loading up AP history, you would work with them.
We would figure out how
to get it done before.
Yeah, we would figure it out. But again, we want to, you know, 98 to 99% of the students we want to be in the class, because we just know how much of a benefit it would be to them.
The other situation is that a high-level student, like an AP student, may be concerned about this pulling down their average, and by having an honors option for this course, by doing an additional project or another assessment, or proving that you're taking this course at a higher level, we're ensuring that those students are not going to have their grade point average impacted by taking personal finance, that we're not saying we're going to put this on you and it's going to pull down your grade point average. Instead, we're going to work with them and make sure that they can keep their grade point average where they want it to be.
That's great.
I just want to say I think this is a great undertaking. I wish I had it several decades ago, and it's exciting. So thanks for bringing it to us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, and many thanks. I've said to the teachers that we understand that they have other obligations, and so if they are leaving after this, we will not be offended. We thank you all for your time. Thank you very much for your consideration as a board. Great.
Night, thanks.
Night,
Have a good night.
Good night. So the next item that we have on our agenda is our special education English language arts curriculum audit process. And Mrs. Natalia Adalizzi is here to kick us off and walk us through that process this evening.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, Dr. Rushi, to the board for allowing me to present tonight. And happy School Board Appreciation Month. One, I'm very disappointed that I did not add any falling coins into my PowerPoint presentation for your enjoyment. But next time I'm back here, I'll see what I can do. All right, so just a quick refresh. As a school district, we've developed an audit cycle to look at the various courses and the various areas that we offer, just to continue our continuous improvement and make the best use of our district resources. So that is why I'm here tonight, because I'm up. It's my turn. Okay. Our goal was to put together a very comprehensive team, and we've included, you'll see, not just special education teachers, but school psychologists, general education teachers, building and district level administrators, and reading specialists who have additional certifications in teaching reading. In addition, we have ensured that teachers who hold additional trainings in specific reading programs are part of this process as well. So our team was very intentional. As you know, special education is full of acronyms, so I'll break down the ELA for you. This encompasses the areas of decoding, or phonics, comprehension, fluency, which is reading accurately and efficiently, encoding, which is a very fancy word for spelling, and then putting those sounds into letters, as well as writing. So that's what that's what we're looking at in the special education world. In special education, we complete a comprehensive educational testing to learn a child's specific areas of need. And our goal is to build an individualized education plan that directly addresses each specific area of need for that child. We have some students who might need special education to address one area of ELA, while other students, they need assistance and they need additional supports in the multiple areas of ELA. So while our educational testing certainly gives us an in-depth look at children's needs, we're guided by the law. So I wanted to kind of start there. IDA is the foundation for special education services. And I think I've done a really good job of condensing a very, very long federal law into one slide. And I may be offering those services to the government soon. And I think it's important to reflect what IDA requires us to do as special educators and as a school district. As part of this audit, we are looking at how our current resources allow us to ensure our students are receiving a free, appropriate public education with non-disabled peers to the maximum extent appropriate. They participate and make progress in the general education curriculum, and they have the opportunity to be educated in the least restrictive environment. In order to put this all together, we have given our audit team 4 general tasks. So we are looking at the research, we are auditing our current practices, and we are looking beyond Haverford at what others are doing. We are getting feedback from students and parents on their current experiences, and I anticipate that I will bring all of this information to you at a later board meeting. Our first 2 ELA audit meetings were really spent looking at what the current research says. ESSA, or Every Student Succeeds Act, requires schools to ensure that our practices are based in evidence and research. And I wanted to start at the research to help our team develop a common vocabulary as we went through this process, as well as know what the research and science tell us about how students learn to read and write. This was kind of a common lens or a framework for us to tackle our next tasks. So completing the internal analysis for us in the special education world is very in-depth. We are gathering information from our teachers about their current practices and resources, and our students' needs span a very wide variety and array, and therefore, for us, we have a multitude of resources, right, that we're using on a regular basis to address the individual specific needs of every child. We're gonna then look at those resources and review it alongside of our data. It's probably no surprise to you that data really drives the special education process for us and focused on student success. So every day, our teachers, our parents, and our children are sitting around the IEP table looking at their child's data and determining, are they making progress, and how do we need to adjust their program to ensure continued success. So a survey was sent to all other districts and similar districts, maybe in and outside of Delaware County, to understand what resources they are using. And further conversations and follow-up conversations with those districts, their administrators, their teachers have been ongoing. So we can learn more about what they're doing and what's working for them. A survey will soon be sent to all families of students with IEPs who receive special education reading services. And we will be asking about their child's engagement with our current resources. As part of this survey, we will ask if any parents would like to participate in a focus group to help us better understand our survey results. For those of you who are researchers on the board, doing a little bit of a mixed method, both a quantitative and qualitative approach. Figured some of you might appreciate that. But also then surveying our secondary students to hear directly from our kids. So the next step is we will put all of this information together as an audit team, and I expect to come back to you at some point this spring and share those audit results and then make some recommendations for next year as we enter our development phase. I didn't enter a question slide, but I am happy to take them.
Questions?
Now on Zoom, we have like a 5-second pause, and if nobody asks questions in 5 seconds, I'm allowed to shut down the meeting.
All right, we look forward to seeing the results of
Awesome.
your survey and exploration.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
And we'll welcome Sandy Connolly back to the podium for our third and final item on the agenda. She is going to be proposing what we typically would say is a text for adoption, but we're going contemporary here, a podcast for adoption as a core resource to be used in 6th grade English language arts. So Sandy, thank you for bringing that to us this evening.
Well, I'm glad to be back, everyone. Now I have a wonderful opportunity to present to you something we have not presented before, as Jen said, a podcast. Our 6th grade teachers piloted or pioneered this podcast during our hybrid instruction and really started it during our online learning. They were trying to find a way to keep kids engaged, to get kids reading and listening and thinking about text. And they were having a little bit of a struggle 2 springs ago, right, when we first started in the pandemic and that spring. And so they started using the Unexplainable Disappearance of Patel. Can I just see a show of hands? Has anybody ever heard of this podcast? Have you listened to it? Yeah? Thanks. So I had to listen to it too and go see, what it was all about. And I found it incredibly engaging. And I do that with pretty much all the texts that we propose to you. At some point, the teachers will listen. So maybe you don't know this process, but the teachers will read the text or listen to the text, determine how they can use the text, what standards might they use, is it replacing any resource that they currently have and they found it's a better text, or is it something they feel is missing from the curriculum? In this case, they felt that this was missing from the curriculum. And then when they make their recommendation, then I go read it or references about it, but in the most case, I try to listen to it or read it. This is a scripted podcast for middle grade kids. It is specifically for middle grade students. It is very high quality. It is a serial mystery with lots of different voices. So everyone is acted by a student, a child actor, or an adult, depending on, who the character is that they are playing. And it has received many awards, and you'll see on the adoption proposal, you can see all the awards that it received. There are many things that the teachers found that they could teach with this. Children have learned to read at this point, and yet they may not be listening very carefully, or they may not be interpreting what they're hearing in different situations. And we're spending a lot of time studying author's craft in our reading and the different literature that we read. And there are a lot of components to author's craft that are involved in a podcast or in an audible kind of story, right? Because there's music mood that is set by the music. There is the tone of the voice that can cause different emotions that the author is using. And they can really discuss, how did the author create suspense? What kind of plot twists did you see that the author put in? Where was there foreshadowing of something that might be coming later on that you got a clue to ahead of time? So they're applying all the same literary tools and author's craft in a different medium in this podcast. One of the things that also happened was the school board provided for every student a one-to-one situation. We could never have done this before every student had their own computer, but now that they do, this is possible. So we would like to make this a core text for 6th grade. One of the things this does by adopting it as a core text is that other grade levels can't teach it. If we adopt it for 6th grade, then we're saying to 5th grade or 7th grade, hands off, this is going to be a 6th grade text. And so that's one of the reasons also why we wanted to bring it to you, so that then it could be just saved for our 6th grade teachers to use with their students. They have spent a lot of time developing lessons around this text. They feel it's really valuable and engaging to their students. It brings in a whole other medium. And so we would like you to approve that when it's presented to you for a vote, which is not tonight. Tonight we're just doing information and question answering. Does anyone have any questions? And I'm not the expert as the 6th grade teachers would be, but I'll answer to the best of my ability.
I have a question. So I was not familiar with the podcast. I know of the book, and it's wonderful reputation. So how would this look in, I'm trying to picture, I have a 7th grader in the middle school. How would this look in a class? So they would be listening to the podcast during class?
They listen to it as it is assigned. They may listen to it, to sections of it as a whole group. They may then be assigned to listen to some of it and reflect on it. They may be given questions, and your student probably did this last year. So you could ask whether or not that happened. I believe that they were pioneering it last year, trying it out to see if it was something they wanted to bring forward as a, as a core text.
So I understand the whole, when we were hybrid, virtual, was there any consideration of doing the text just as the book, adopting just reading the book in classes rather than the podcast?
They may choose to read some of the books in addition to listening to it, but I think that bringing in the craft of the music and the tone of voice of the actors and having to listen and visualize is another deeper layer of reading that they were trying to bring for the students.
No, and I understand that. I just see there's a market change. I have a 9th grader, also I have a 2nd grader, 9th grader, 7th,
Oh, thank you.
2nd. And so I see there's been a lot of changes necessitated by the pandemic, excuse me, between what 7th grade looks like now versus what 7th grade looked like for my 9th grader just 2 years ago. And it seems to be a lot more use of the Chromebook. Some of it I'm honestly not thrilled with, as just speaking as a parent, and I know there's been a lot of abuses of the Chromebook, not just cheating and all that, but kids using social media, children going on YouTube, and it kind of unsettles me a little more reliance on that, so I have to process that a little bit.
I think those are great questions, and that's something that I could definitely, address with teachers and talk to them about it, but I believe that they are supervising this well and doing the best of their ability within the class to supervise what's going on.
No, and I mean, I'm sure they are, and I guess I've noticed more of a switch to more reading the text, even in novels, in class versus my 9th grader would have been told, read this chapter at home, and it seems more of a switch, that stuff now being done, reading the chapters in school, so this would be the same type of thing, they would be listening during class time.
I believe they'd be listening.
Okay.
And there is a balance between assigning a chapter, just to address that, assigning a chapter or reading the chapter with the students, and where they feel like they need to get the students engaged, or it's really a part of the chapter that they need to make sure that the students have read, then they may read that part aloud.
Oh, and that certainly did happen. Like, we're going to read with my older son. We're going to highlight these 4 pages are crucial. It seems more like reading it's been a little bit of a switch. So I have to process this. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for your question. Anyone else?
How do they access this? Like, it says the publisher is Gen Z Media, so it's just a website or something.
Yep, it is. I have to review how they accessed it. They gave me, when I was trying it out with them, they just gave me a link. It is free. It's available for all, so there is no charge, which is a remarkable thing. I almost pretty much never with English language arts will bring you something that's free. This happens to be free at this point. We don't know that it always will be. But they all have accessibility to it.
That's nice. And is there, it says it's a scripted podcast, so could they be reading the script along with while they're listening to it?
I think that's what.
So kind of maybe, I guess.
Yeah.
I listen to audiobooks all the time, so I like while I'm driving in my car, I like audiobooks, so I like that aspect. It is a different way to consume literature, so it's just different, and it is a different skill. But I guess not everybody's an auditory learner, so that's why I was just thinking, if there is an option for those who want it to read along while you're listening or something. I don't know if is that something that is
I think
available?
that's something I'll definitely look into and be able to get answers for you. I think that would be a nice way to be able to differentiate, what students are doing. And one of the things I wanted to say is, you'll notice that this is not replacing a text.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually in addition to
additional.
everything that they were reading before. This is just something else they wanted to add in the spring, because they found that was a time when engagement was lagging a little bit, and that this was a place to get kids back into listening and reading in a different way.
Yeah,
I just wanted to say, I think it's a wonderful idea. I think there's so many different ways that children learn, and it's really important to address the multiple different ways that kids engage with literature. So I think it sounds fantastic.
Right. Yeah, I think it makes literature accessible.
Yes.
And as you said, I listen to Audible books. I always have one of those going in addition to my physical book.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe it's introducing a genre that students may not have had access to.
Yeah, I think that's great. And it looks like it's won some awards too, which is very exciting.
Yes, many awards.
Because I know there's a lot of podcasts out there these days. So like it is a very high quality podcast that sounds like that's been sort of recognized. So that's great.
And yeah, it could present another way for students to discern of all of the things that are available on the internet and things that they could do, that here is a good quality choice, and if you like this, there's more. I think that kind of fits in with exposing kids to navigate technology and content, media responsibly and for good, and fits into that idea of a contemporary learner.
Just one more way, we are following our strategic plan.
When, just a practical matter, when do you anticipate bringing this before the board for a vote? Do you know?
We would ask again that it become a part of the board reports for this coming Thursday. And then we would typically bring it for adoption the next board meeting, so
okay.
the 17th again.
That's what I figured. I just wanted to be sure. Good, thank you.
I'll have time to download an episode and listen to a little before then.
Very good, thank you.
That concludes the curriculum agenda items for tonight. We have a public comment period available if there's anyone who would like to make a comment. I don't see any takers, so the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.